Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, look, am I interviewing you today for the Athlete of the Week?
There's a third person missing.
I don't know. Yeah, so where is today's Athlete of the Week? And that is what we're doing or talking about on this episode. So we've been reaching out. I reach out in the Facebook group. We send out emails. And the steam has just really slowed down on athletes willing to come on the podcast. I get it. It's scary. And here's the deal. We wanted to take a few minutes to kind of talk about some of our past episodes with athletes that we've had on, things that highlights for us and all this good stuff. But really the purpose of this episode is I want to encourage you to come on an episode. We have plenty of people scheduled right now, but we would like to schedule a lot more. So if you listen to the podcast, if you're one of our athletes, and you're like, you know what, I really wanted to do it, or you've thought about it. If you've ever prepared the answer to the question, if you only had one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be? If you've ever answered that question in your head, you'd probably be a good fit for the podcast. And we really want to have you on. And so, Joe, what's the best way for them to reach out if they want to be on the podcast?
Best way to reach out?
Reach out. If they want to be on the podcast, where do they go? What do they do?
I mean, either the support email is always good, or or even on the Facebook group.
Yeah, you can get in touch with us anyway, is what he's saying. So you could send us a message on Instagram, Garage Gym Athlete, or my account. You could, so I'm at EO3Fit. We are at Garage Gym Athlete. Go to garagegymathlete.com, submit, you can go to contact form there, submit it there. If you're in the Facebook group, tag us in the Facebook group, say you want to be on the podcast, whatever it is, let us know, and we will make it happen from there. All you got to do is give us the hat tip, and we will take care of the rest. But here are the two biggest pushbacks I get when I start trying to invite people on. One, and this is the biggest one, people are like, I don't think my story is interesting enough for me to be on the podcast. You know how, I would say 50% of the people who've been on the podcast said that to me, and they've been on the podcast, and their story ended up being more interesting than they thought it was going to be. So, one, your story is way more interesting than you think, and you probably have a couple nuggets of wisdom you don't even realize that you have, and you could share with a bunch of other athletes and help them out. And another big pushback I get is just not being comfortable recording a podcast episode. And I get that that's a little bit scary too, but Joe and I don't bite. This is a pretty friendly environment here. I mean, Joe might bite and you get stuck in his beard, but otherwise we're pretty easygoing here. And it's our only goal is to make you look good. So if for some reason you looked bad, we wouldn't even publish it. If you're like, I don't want this published, we wouldn't publish it. We're not this isn't a news outlet. We're not TMZ trying to get dirt on you. We're just trying to help athletes all around the globe. So what we're going to do, what we kind of thought we would do to kind of spark some more interest in people jumping on, is just share some of our past episode highlights that we have, thought about, or that are still with us, whatever you want to call it. Joe, I'll let you start, man.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on some of the things you said, if you ever listened to the athlete interviews and you've ever thought oh, that's cool, or that's interesting, then the person that you are hearing probably also said that they didn't have anything cool or interesting to say. So that means you probably do too. So just saying. So you want to start with people, or just, in general?
Yeah, let's go over some people. What have been some of your memory? I know everyone listening to this who listens to the Athlete of the Week probably has like some takeaways from different athletes or just something that sticks out in their brain. And I'd love to hear what some of yours are. Joe and I didn't discuss them prior to the podcast, so we're kind of like going to share them with each other now.
Yeah, so first one that kind of came to mind was Chris Ruano, and he is a hotshots fireman in California, so always dealing with wildfires and like true first responder, gets airdropped out of planes to go hike through mountains and bust up trees and, completely putting programming to the test. But he was one of the people that sparked the whole sandbag movement. Like if people are all talking about one man on a sandbag, but he's like the OG of sandbags. He does all kinds of crazy sandbag workouts and publishes. And he also talked about, introduced me to the kettlebell sandbag that he always travels with. Just right. fills it up and posts awesome workouts with those, which is pretty cool. But the fact that he's the first and only welder that we've had on who welded his own like rack adjustments, rack things, and other, I think he like did things with barbells, chopped them up and made things because he could weld. And it was just like the ultimate DIY. So just like crazy stories like that. And DIY things were pretty interesting.
Yeah. I love Chris. He's also been to the coaching program. I've had a lot of conversations with him. Really good guy. And that was he's been on, twice, right? Maybe more. Yeah, I think it's twice though. I don't think anybody's technically been on 3 yet. Maybe. Okay. So I want to share. So Tyler Karns, he's been on twice. And so he's a police officer. He's relatively quiet in the group. But it was just cool to see his, you don't hear from someone very much. They're not updating you. We have a lot of athletes and you don't get updates from all of them all the time on like their progress and stuff. And, he was on early on when we interviewed, and then he came back on more recently. And just phenomenal progress, like results in like smashing PRs, all this other stuff. But then he mentioned like, the EO3 elements. He had started being very cognizant of making sure he checked off every single EO3 element in the app every single day. And I thought that was really cool because he just talked about the changes like in recovery and performance and everything. And he really attributed it to the EO3 elements, how he was like trying to focus on chewing his food more, getting in an extra aerobic work and all this stuff. And that just really stuck out to me because we put in something like the EO3 elements. And I feel like it's probably for 50% of our athletes, just an annoyance because it's like there and they need to check off and they don't do it. But for everyone else who follows it and does it, because some people just want to train. They don't care about the other stuff. And we're trying to make sure people are really well-rounded. But it's good to get feedback like that and hear, him communicate that with other athletes. I think that's huge.
Yeah. Next, I'm going to mention probably our hardest episode that we ever recorded. It was the most challenging.
Yes.
A lot of obstacles. It was also one of the most underrated and flow under the radar ones. It was our first in-person full video interview with Nick DeBose in his garage, and included a full garage tour with like, I remember editing it, putting like picture in picture so that it popped up as he was talking about it. And it was awesome.
So you have to go to the YouTube channel to check that out. Like we have done everything online and then we're like, this should be fine. And it was very complicated. We have since figured out masterfully how to record podcasts in person. We got all the right equipment and like, it's not such a big deal now, but that was the first time we were like, yeah, we'll go do it in person. No big deal. He didn't live that far from me. Joe was in town. Yeah. Like, let's go check it out. And basically every single thing that you need to do to record a podcast, like we found out we were doing it wrong. Like, we're like, okay, well, mic stands. We don't have them,
Yeah, we turned the rack into the mic stand. We like taped it to there.
Yeah, we don't have a mic stand. Oh, it's like, how are you going to hook this many mics to one computer? It's just like, okay. Like I said, we figured all that stuff out, but that was a really memorable episode. That was a fun one. And Nick, he's still in Cali, right?
He's back in Texas.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he boomeranged.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
But now we know how to record in person, we're going to do that more.
Yeah,
we did that in Tahoe, and that was awesome.
Yeah, we have all the gear now. It's easy. It's easy when you have all the right stuff. Yeah. It's hard when you don't. All right. I'll go next with just some really, I'm going to kind of mention three here because, Al Brook, he's been on a few times. Greg Eisenhower, I know you have some things to mention these people as well. And then Keith Vance. These guys just had, some really impactful podcast episodes on like, big picture life stuff, some ideas, some methodologies, philosophies, principles, all those kind of things. And they just always stuck with me, like Greg Eisenhower, him saying the days that I don't, he made a deal with himself, the days that I don't want to, or the days that I absolutely have to. I love that. I think about it all the time. Keith had some really powerful stuff about, his community and how he is trying to help other people basically become better humans. And Al has just shared a bunch of wisdom throughout the years in the group and through his podcast episodes. So those are three guys that I think about pretty often when we're talking about podcast stuff, and appreciate them being a part of the community, and appreciate their interviews. I'm sure we'll have them all on again at some point, in all honesty.
Yeah, the gym that Keith built was freaking amazing, but also like the community and the following that he has that comes and works out and uses his epic shed all the time, and the people that he has around him was pretty awesome. But one of the points with Greg that I like to bring up is people ask us stuff all the time, and you always get that they're always going to hear our coaches updates, at least us four every Monday. And some of them are significant, some of them are small, but we can only offer the advice that we kind of know from our own self. But we get a lot of and not to I hope it doesn't take this wrong, but we get a lot of older athletes that ask us about working out in their 40s, 50s and stuff like that. And Greg is doing all of these crazy events, and he is an older athlete, but he's just kicking butt at all of the programming. But he has having that extra wisdom and talking on the show about what he does to supplement because of his specific situation. We're not going to know everybody's specific situation. We can tell you what we think you should do, but everybody has their own limitations, their own setups, their own everything, life experiences. So even if you think you don't have any fun stories, just you being an athlete would probably have its own worth.
Yeah. If you are consistently training, you have something to share, because people sticking to something consistently is a huge challenge. I wrote a book that has a lot to do with that, because I know that it's a huge problem for people. So if you are training consistently, you are already well ahead of most of your peers. And this is for me looking at a data centric, thousands and thousands of people worked with. And now, if you are consistently training, you are so much further ahead than so many people you don't even realize. And you have something to share. So again, go to garagemathlete.com, contact us if you want to be on the show, because you have something and we would love to have you on. Before we close it out, man, anybody else you want to highlight or mention?
No people. I mean, it's always fun to hear from the international. You mentioned Al Brook, but also Craig Lewis, and then all different kinds of athletes. So if you've ever even played any kind of sport, we've heard from the rugby people. We had a BMXer on before, and most importantly, we had a lacrosse player on before. So a lot of fun diversity we got going on.
Yeah, and to be honest, the community, I say it all the time, it's my favorite thing about what we're doing, but it's also what I think about when I start warming up and training. I have gotten to know these people through these conversations. We have thousands of athletes, but we only get to interview so many. And these are the people that they're just in my mind, because we haven't interviewed hundreds and hundreds. We're only up to, I don't know, maybe we're getting close to 100. I don't know, or something. We'll see. But yeah. These people are the people in my mind. So when I'm warming up, I'm thinking about all the people I've mentioned, Trampus, Jason Wood, Chris Morgan, Evan Combs, Justin Schinkel, all these people, Ryan Caswell, Chris Dennell. These people are just names in my brain when I'm starting to warm up, when I'm training, when I don't want to push it as hard. It's because that is the community. I know these people are doing these things every single day, and it keeps me going. I'm a fairly consistent person when it comes to training, but I still need the community. I still want the community, and it really keeps me pressing forward against my own desire. So that's why I love these Athlete of the Week interviews, and would love to have more athletes jump on.
Yeah, it's fun to hear all the creativity too, how people get things done, because everybody's gym is unique to their setup and their situation. So especially the cold people, more power to them, but how they work out in the cold, I don't know. But little tricks you pick up, like bringing the barbell in overnight. things like that were learned.
I've picked up, if I actually went through like my workflow, like I've probably just ideas on equipment and different things. Like people have given me a lot of ideas just from a very tactical garage gym athlete perspective, how to be a little bit more efficient. That's helped a ton too. All right, cool guys. Well, reach out to us. Like I said, any way you can. If Instagram's the easiest way for you to do that. DM us on Instagram. You can go to Garage Gym Athlete, hit the contact link. You can go into 3fitness.com, hit the contact us link, and just say, hey, I'd love to be on the podcast. Or even in the Facebook group, just tag us and let us know you're interested. We are always taking on new people and scheduling them out, so we'd love to have you guys. But that is it for this Athlete of the Week kind of episode. See you guys. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.